What's going on, everybody? So today I want to go over the top 6 free-to-play gems. Now we're doing top 6 because we can fit 6 gems into our loadout. And we're going to be going through the actual math of it beforehand so you guys can understand where this is coming from. Because if you guys have not watched my previous content, then you would just assume certain things, as I've seen a lot of you do, when in fact, there's a ton of math that goes into every single video that I do because, well, this game really has quite a bit of actual mathematical efficiency strategies if you actually take the time to do it. So we're going to go through the top 6 in what I believe are the best gems. Again, keep in mind that my perspective is based upon a damage dealing perspective. If you are someone that really struggles staying alive or that would rather have some survivability, the list might change for you. However, after you get through the initial growing pains of the early hell difficulty and all that good stuff, damage always reigns supreme because doing dungeons faster, doing open world farming faster, doing elder race faster, whatever it is way more important. Now, for PvP, gem efficiency is reduced by 66%. So the ones I will go over, for example, let's just take Berserker's Eye. Berserker's Eye is going to massively reduce your damage in PvP, or rather the Berserker's Eye effect will be massively reduced in PvP, which means you're not getting as much damage increase. So keep that in mind, and that's why when we're talking about PvP, I might go with a different gem setup because it changes the whole landscape of what I'd want, especially if you're free to play, because oftentimes you're not going to do damage anyways, so you kind of want some tankiness and survivability stats. So it is a PvE perspective with all the caveats, all the explanation said. Let's jump into the math and then into the top 6 list. All right, so jumping into the spreadsheet here really quickly. I don't want to go through all of this because as you can see, I did like so much math for this months and months ago. I've done tons of math on XP charting and everything. So if anyone's like, oh, well, why are you getting these numbers? Like, guys, I've done the mathematical testing for it. So, you know, feel free to disagree with it. But I've done a ton of testing for every single thing that I make a video on. And you can see here, the 5-star gems are located as such in terms of resonance, the damage, and all that good stuff. But basically what I want to show here, guys, is how Berserker's Eye is actually better than resonance in terms of damage, okay? And this actually scales with resonance. You can actually see the amount of resonance that we have. I went up to 5K. It continues on more. The trend is exactly the same. You can see the graph here. Trend is exactly the same. As we increase our resonance, the damage difference between either going with a 5-star gem or going with a Berserker's Eye is massively increased, okay? So keep that in mind when we're talking about all these numbers. And you can see the damage difference over here is pretty substantial. Again, the way this works essentially is when we have a resonance gem, like purely used for resonance, say a 5-star gem, you're going to get additional damage based on your gear stats. So when you're looking at your main stat for your gear, you're getting additional damage. However, it doesn't actually increase your other damage you're getting from other sources. For example, Paragon Tree, which actually, this could actually increase the damage different number because this was calculated based on a different amount of Paragon damage. But the Berserker's Eyes, the Bloody Reaches, those types of gems, those are going to be massively increased because of your Paragon damage, because they actually increase your Paragon damage as well. Whereas resonance has no effect on it, which is why you'll find that damage multiplicative gems are super good. Now, I'm not going to put a bunch of 5-star gems on this list because it's a free to play list. And for that reason, we have one 5-star gem and then obviously a bunch of 1- and 2-star gems and potentially some honorable mentions at the end here. There's in no particular order. And for some classes, you're going to find that these gems aren't very amazing, and for some classes they are. So obviously you can't make a list that encompasses all of this. You make a list for every single class. So I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to go over my top 6 picks. Starting off with the first one, it's going to be Bloodsoaked Jade. This is going to be the only one that I recommend every single person in the entire game must get. Reason being, increasing damage and increasing movement speed. 2 things which are incredibly important for us to be successful in this game. If you're going to invest into one 5-star gem, this one should be it. No questions asked. I think everyone is relatively, agreeable in terms of Bloodsoaked Jade being the #1 5-star gem. Increasing your damage is going to massively, obviously, increase your damage. You're going to get a good amount of resonance. You're going to get a good amount of combat rating, and you're going to get a good amount of movement speed. Keep in mind that I'm not really factoring combat rating all that much into my ratings here because, well, it's a minute amount of combat rating in terms of the grand scheme of things, and you can just make up for it in terms of time grinding. So that's going to be the one 5-star gem. I have a couple more on the list. The second one is actually someone that you can't buy from the market. So we have to go into the gems here, and that's going to be Fervent Fang. The reason why this is so good at rank 10 here, you're going to actually damage increase is going to go from 0.8% to 2.4%. And it stacks up to 10 times, which means that 10 times 2.4 is 24% damage increase from hitting the same enemy. Also, damage to elite monsters is going to increase by 6%. This is massive for dungeon farming, for any Heliquary farming, for any damn boss that you're hitting so many times in that certain amount of time. You're going to increase your damage up to 24%. This is massive for every single class in the game, and this is one of the few gems that now that we've had a lot of time in the game, we have a lot of dupes of it, presumably if you guys have been playing. One of the reasons why Fervent Fang is a little bit awkward is because since you can't invest your platinum into it, you have to wait for your battle passes to give you it. As you can see here, it just reset. So there's a Fervent Fang for free-to-play players. I believe there's one, maybe two. Yeah, there's one at the end here. If you're a spender, you're going to get a lot more copies of it. So, it's few and far between for free to play, but it is one of the better gems in the game, and you can go up to 24%. That's going to be the next 2-star. The one after that 2-star we have is Power and Command. Now, this gem is incredibly good for free to play players because although it's a little bit awkward in that it increases your damage either of your primary attack or your skill damage. And so for that reason, something like a Demon Hunter, this gem is a godsend because you're always primary attacking. And then when it swaps over to skill damage, you just pop your multi-shots, like multiple charges, your multi-shots, multiple of your, all your skills at once. Your Vengeance, your Rain of Vengeance, your multi-shot, all can go out at the same time and take advantage of that skill damage. But this kind of works with every class. For example, if you're playing Crusader, you just primary attack, then Command pops up, boom, you drop your 3 spinning shields, your Consecration, your Conjuration of Light, whatever you're running, and it's going to massively increase your damage. Now, at rank 10, this is going to increase up to 24% and have a 30% chance to dispel a negative effect when we swap between Power and Command. This is going to be massive in terms of just increasing your damage. Again, that's what we're looking for, and that's why Power and Command is so good. And unfortunately, you can actually buy it from the market. The next one here is going to be one that that might be a little controversial because not every class can use it, and that's going to be Bloody Reach. Now, I will offer some honorable mentions at the end where you can kind of replace some of these for specific classes, but to me, this is absolutely 100% going to be an amazing gem. The reason for this is you're just going to get, again, a 24% damage increase, which is massive when we are actually far away from the enemies, which is huge. Now, what you'll note here is when we are considering the extra decreasing of movement speed, that's actually really nice as well. It's not just good for the damage increase, even though that's the main reason we're using it, right? So it's 6% for every 2 yards between you and the enemy hit, which means that you need to be 8 yards away, which is 6 times 4, 24%. Only good for wizards, for demon hunters, for necros. Your melee classes aren't going to get a ton of value out of it. Actually, for Satyr, you can get some value. For example, you can just drop your Conjuration of Light on your allies. You can drop your Consecration, your Spinning Shields, and then walk back and banner everyone. And then technically you're 8 yards away, which means that your damage is going to be increased. So there are some things you can do, but personally, I would only run this on your ranged classes, but it is very good for your ranged classes. All right, so that is 4 of them, right? We have the Bloody Reach, we have the Bloodsoaked Jade, Fervent Fang, and Power and Command. Let's move on to our last 2 in terms of 1-star gems here, and that is going to be the tried and true Berserker's Eye, guys. You really can't go wrong with this gem. This is going to increase your damage dealt by 16%. Yes, it will increase your damage taken, but your damage taken doesn't actually increase. It's always going to be a permanent 5%. 5% extra damage taken isn't actually all that much, but 60% damage dealt increasing is triple that and is actually a huge deal. Not only that, we're also going to get 2% crit chance, which isn't nothing. It's a decent amount and is really, really nice. Also, for the 1-star gems and for the 2-star gems, you're going to really get to rank 5 very quickly because that is very important for the magic find. So that is also something to consider. But this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to increase the damage you deal, and it's good for every single class in the entire game. Last one here in terms of 1-stars. This is going to be another one that people might find a little controversial, but to me, it's going to be Carson's Invigoration. Every single class uses basic attacks. Now, for some classes, it's a little bit better. For some classes, it's a little bit worse. For example, Satyr, Barbarian, Demon Hunter. Those 3 classes, and Monk potentially, are going to get massive value from this gem. Demon Hunter, you're going to be constantly primary attacking while moving. Satyr, you're going to be primary attacking while you're on your horse, and just in general, because you could drop all your other abilities while primary attacking. Barbarian, you have the Frenzy, which increases your primary attack already, and this gem increases your primary attack speed by 16% and your primary attack damage by 2%. So this gem is very, very good for all 4 of those classes. The question becomes, okay, is it good for things like Necro, for things like Wizard? Necro, I could see a very, very good argument for, because you could summon your summons, and in PvE, that's going to be the best build, and then you can just primary attack after that. So I think it's very good for Necro as well. The Wizard is the question. Is it good enough for the Wizard? Arguably, no, because you're going to be channeling a lot. Like if you're running a Firestore build, you oftentimes will be running, the Disintegrate, and you're going to try to time your Disintegrate to increase the fire damage for your tornadoes and all that good stuff. So that's where it's like, okay, maybe you're not for the Wizard, but every other class in the game, I could see this having a very, very good use. All right, so that's gonna be the top 6 list here, guys. I do want to mention, there's a couple of honorable mentions here for me. The first one, I'll mention 1 5-star gem, and I guess I'll mention 2 5-star gems because I actually really like some of these ones. To me personally, I actually really like the new ones. I like the Concentrated Will. This one's going to massively increase your damage, okay? When we actually return to the high heavens, or the angel returns, so you use your dash ability, you're going to get that angel, it's going to do a little bit of damage, and then it's going to return giving you movement speed and damage, which is really, really nice. And if you time this well, again, this is really, really massive for you to just randomly get some extra damage out. Again, I care about damage increasing gems. There's no reason why this gem wouldn't be in the honorable mentions. Hellfire Fragment is also another one. I see a lot of people, saying, oh, well, it's actually not that good. The damage is pretty mediocre. Well, yeah, it's not like this insane, broken, damage-dealing gem, but extra damage, dealing an extra 50k damage, which you've seen from my previous videos. Actually, this one dealt, I think it was like 7k, and then it can increase multiple times when you strike people with multiple hits. So it can increase up to like 30k, 40k. I don't know if it can crit. I haven't seen it crit yet, but that's a decent amount of damage on just a gem. So I actually really like that one as well. For 2 stars here, I'll just go over a couple of honorable mentions here. I actually really like the Abiding Curse, increasing damage dealt to the cursed targets by a decent amount. That's a really, really nice one. Also, I actually think that Cursed Sling can be good because we're going to increase our damage dealt to blinding enemies when we blind someone, which is, again, a very, very good effect. You'll see a common theme here. Every single gem here either does a good amount of damage or increases our damage dealt. For 1 stars here, this is where it gets a little tricky because we don't really have a ton to offer. Everlasting Torment's a really, really good one because we actually can increase our attack speed for each nearby enemy inflicted with agony, which is just increase our damage because we're increasing our attack speed and increasing just our damage overall by actually dealing damage from our critical hits. We do need a crit for this, which makes it a little bit more niche. If you have a Banner or Crusader, if you're a Barbarian or a Demon Hunter with like Smokescreen, you have your not Undying Rage, your Wrath of Berserker or anything like that, you could actually get more crits, which means Everlasting Torment's pretty good, and I have no problems with that. And then 2 other ones here in the 1-star category because there's quite a few here, and a lot of people are wondering about the 1 stars. Blessed Pebble or Blessed Pebble is just super, super amazing for any class that's going to be using beneficial effects. You're going to get some extra movement speed and you're going to increase the duration of it. Nothing else to say. Things like Conjuration of Light, things like what's another one? Vengeance, things like your horse on the Crusader, things like Undying Rage on your Barbarian. All these things are going to increase the duration, and it's going to be super, super good. And then Sled's Weakening is actually a decent gem. It's one of the lower ones, to be honest, and really personally shines a lot in Elder Rifts because you can kill elite monsters quite often. But the thing with this is that you probably won't get a ton of value out of this in dungeons because you don't really see all that many elite monsters every 60 seconds. But if you can see elite monsters, this is one of the best 1-star gems in the game at an 18% damage increase overall for 60 seconds when you kill an elite monster. So those are going to be the 1-star gems that I would go for. Again, I only mentioned a couple 5-star gems because if you're free to play, you only want to upgrade 1 to 2 of them because they're really, really high investments. The rest of your gem loadout will be 1 to 2-star gems, and that's why I mentioned quite a few of those. Again, if you're ever curious about any damage multiplicative gem, just keep in mind that as a kind of a basic understanding, the damage that you have from Paragon, for example, I have 3,540 here, that does not get increased by Resonance. Resonance only increases your base stats of your gear. So for example, these pieces right here where they give you damage, those are the ones that are increased by Resonance. So although Resonance is very, very good and more important in PvP because gem effects get reduced, in PvE content, Resonance is actually less valuable than the damage increasing gems because the damage increasing gems actually increase your overall damage rather than just your damage on your gear. Hopefully this helps, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video, sub to the channel. I haven't really done a list like this where I've gone over like the top 6 free-to-play gems in the game or anything like that, but a lot of people have been asking me what I should do for gems, and I just want to give you guys my thoughts overall. Out of this list, if you picked any of the top 6 to put on your pieces of gear, or if you go ahead and you picked any of the honorable mentions to replace some pieces, for example, if you're a melee class and you have Bloody Reach, and you're like, you know what, that sucks, I'm going to run Abiding Curse, I'm going to run Blessed Pebble, or I'm going to run something like that, I think you're going to be completely fine and do some really, really good damage. If you're a low spender or you're a spender at all, I would highly recommend using your spending first before you do any of the gem upgrades because there is a chance you get a 5 out of 5 and that could really, really amp up your damage overall because of the resonance that you're gathering, and it could be a decent gem either. Like for example, if I have a 5 out of 5 and let's say it's a, I don't know, something random, like let's say it's a Howler's Call like mine, right? It's like, okay, maybe I should just use that because it does a decent amount of damage. Yes, the effect might not be as good as something like Bloody Reach, but at least I will always get that consistent effect and I never have to worry about it. That might be a consideration you want to make. Of course, if you get into 5 out of 5, that is where it's like, okay, maybe I should consider this gem over some of the other ones that are damage multiplicative because you're going to get extra combat rating, you're going to get extra base resonance, which can help you in PvP and things like that. Even though, despite getting a 5 out of 5, you will still do less damage in PvE compared to the damage amping gems. So even then, you might want to consider just selling it and buying upgrades for the other gems, you know? Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you have any questions about any of the math, it's not too difficult to answer. Always join my Discord if you guys have any questions. You guys can always tag me, and I will see you all tomorrow.